What's up, y'all? Lucian here with Into the Chasm. Sorry if you hear chasm. If you hear some cats in the background, I don't ban them from this room, which would I probably should, but you know what? It's authentic. With me today is my brother, Giroux here.
Hey, man.
It's good to see you, man.
You too,
Thanks
buddy.
for being part of this, the growth of my channel, and this is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Even just shooting the shit and hanging out for a bit.
That's the best part of it.
Seeger plays for a local band. You guys are based out of what town? Or do you
Mount
guys
Vernon,
just,
really. Two of the members are Mount Vernon. I'm DuQuoin, and then Caleb is
okay.
Makanda.
Yeah.
So
and you guys, you're called
Vernon.
Cause of Ruin,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Cause of Ruin. You've been a band about 2 years.
I've been in about 2 years.
Oh, you've been in about 2 years. Okay.
They've been going for a while. So Jeremy Bullock, the singer
Yeah.
and guitar player, he's probably had 500 iterations of that band over the past,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think past 5 or 6 years is probably the most steady version of it. But yeah, he's been going for a while, but he's the only original member left. Then yeah, I came in. Caleb, the bassist, went in probably about 6 months, a year before I did, and then I came in after that.
So you've been in for a couple years, and you guys have been playing. You guys are a metal band. You'd consider. I saw on iTunes. Is that what you say you guys would stick to as metal, or do you like a mixed genre?
I'd probably say more metal than anything.
Uh-huh.
Hard rock metal, maybe. Like the new EP, every song is, I feel like every song's a different expose in
Yeah.
different types of genres, and it just
Yeah.
happened that way.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to throw a dart at what the whole totality of a band is, because some days a lot of bands, like even we were talking about Bullet for a Valentine, even a lot
Yeah.
of their stuff, there'll be slower songs that are more melodic, chill, and it's like not metal at all.
Yeah.
Really just for the melody and but so are you the only guitarist or one of?
Nope, one of.
Okay, one
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
of. Okay, so you got two guitar players. And how long have you been playing guitar yourself? I mean, for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I probably started, it was probably 12 or 13 when I started.
Yeah.
But then, like, when we were in high school stuff, I was usually the one that ended up singing for
Yeah.
stuff, just because I was the only one
Well, I
willing to
remember
open my
you've
mouth
had
and make
good
noise.
vocals since since we were teenagers. I remember, like, specifically, I remember you having a very expressive voice when it came to singing. I would say something, I don't know who I could compare it to, somewhere between like Seether and just a really somewhere between Seether and like Aaron Lewis maybe.
I hear Aaron Lewis a lot.
Really?
I've heard Howard Jones kind of get sprinkled in there.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me, because when you're trying to figure it out yourself, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
You know
just
what I mean?
doing
I
it.
can't-
Yeah.
Even guitar wise, I couldn't begin to say who I play like.
Yeah,
vocally
of
the
course.
Same way. I feel like vocally it took me a long time before I felt like I was decent.
Yeah.
You know, I was just a guy willing to try it.
Yeah.
And it just went from there.
Hell yeah.
So like playing in a barn with Matt Hayes when we were super young. You
Yeah.
know, it just went from there. So
So
one project to the next.
So if you can remember as far back as you beginning guitar, right? What got you into playing it? Did you just always know you wanted to play guitar, or was there a certain influence? Was there a certain song or a certain artist or musician that you saw and you're like, that sounds like something I want to do?
D, all the above.
All of it. Okay, so I
All the
hit
above.
it right on the
I
head.
think my parents were always big fans of music. We always listened to music. I was always big into music. And then I felt like all of us played something.
Yeah.
So we had like this melting pot of people that all were trying to figure out instruments.
The stew was always cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So between all of us, and it was just part of our scene, I felt like. But
Yeah.
we were all really big into music. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like it was disingenuous. It just
Yeah.
was natural.
Yeah. It's bound to happen.
Yeah. So it just progressed and kept on it. I found out that if I'm not in a project, if I'm not in a
Yeah.
band, I don't play near as much.
Yeah.
I don't practice very much. I don't do much with it.
Well, because
so,
then it's not as relevant, It's something that you're actively cultivating. If you're spending time with it, of course, you're going to have more time put into it,
yeah, I need an objective.
Yeah.
Like I need something.
Yeah.
Right before Cause of Ruin, I had about a year where I wasn't doing much, and I didn't do much. I picked up the guitar maybe a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So
Well, Lynch actually said something similar before he got into 90s kids. I think he said he had like put down instruments for quite some time. Prior to guitar, was there another instrument you were interested in, or have you become interested in another instrument since then, or has guitar kind of been your baby?
I think if I would have had a consistent drum set growing up,
Yeah.
I would have probably played drums.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I could see it. I mean, you've got the build for a drummer, man.
I had your drum set like a whole summer. Do you remember that? I had your drum set for like a whole summer when we were growing up. I think we tried to start a band or something, and we were practicing in my bedroom at Mom and Dad's house. And we had...
That was around the hospital, right? Your house by the
yeah,
hospital?
Yeah, just down the road.
You have that big old yard where there's like hills and stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
And they still live there. I remember that specifically.
But I remember having your drums for at least a couple months.
Yeah.
And thanks to my parents, I would play it all the time, and they never said anything.
That's too bad. I should have left them there so you could have cultivated it.
Man, I played quite a bit, and growing up, we had a drum set for a little bit. That some stuff happened with it, and we ended up losing it. But I would have loved to have played drums. I wanted to play snare in middle school, and it never happened, and I don't exactly remember why. So, like, watching you guys do drumline in high school, man, I was all in on that.
Damn, that's too bad. Man, I wish that was something you could have pushed yourself into. You would have been cool to have out there on the drum line. Because you yourself always had such a phenomenal vibe to you. Me and Lynch talked about, like, for something about Benton and just people that came out of Benton is just full of so many genuine nice guys. Like, it's just like nice guy central. And I've always remembered growing up with you, and Tyler Williams was always a nice guy as well. And Lynch has just always been just a stand-up nice guy himself. Just good guy juju. As far as your band, are there any other bands you've all talked about that you would consider like influences that you as a collective band have been like, that's kind of like a feel we're going for? Or is it like you guys just come off the cuff and you're like, we're going to do this just our own way?
Jeremy and I have very similar influences in a lot of ways. He's a big Dimebag Darrell fan. I am as well. And then like the Black Label Society stuff and that type of thing. But then also other more modern bands, things like Gojira and stuff like that. I think we mesh well. And even getting into like the Static X.
Oh, yeah.
Industrial metal, like that era, prong and all that. We just covered, we just did a prong cover at the last show.
Sweet.
We all have very similar influences. And the good thing is a lot of them are a little more under the radar as far as
under the radar
as far as what people cover. So it's cool because we can bring those songs up. Be like, all right, and we have a good collection of people to where we can pull that stuff off.
Yeah,
we've done a Pantera cover and prong, and man, it's so much fun.
Hell yeah, I remember Static X, and anything that has like an industrial feel to it at all is kind of, I'd say me as a musician would be definitely my niche. I like industrial. I was actually a late bloomer getting into all bands, 9 Inch Nails. I was like 30 fucking years behind. I don't know how.
Where was I?
Something 2 or 3 years ago, I was just like, I think my dad was a DJ when I was a kid. So there were all these songs on rotation in my head that I just never knew who they were. So there's this collective just list of music in my head where I don't know how to find it. Head Like a Hole was playing like 2 years ago out of nowhere. And I'm like, I haven't heard this since I was a kid. And I now remember that I loved this.
Yep.
And then I was just like, this is 9 Inch Nails. Why am I not listening to 9 Inch Nails? Then I started just obsessively listening to them, and I'm like, industrial. Beautiful. It's grungy. You could throw some good, clean stuff in there as well, but I like it's got an ominous.
Yes.
It's like grungy,
9 Inch Nails was great at that.
Yes.
They were great about having super eerie, ominous, like,
I love that,
interludes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they still had some heavier sections.
They got punchy,
Downward Spiral. I had Downward Spiral on a cassette that my dad had dubbed for me.
That's
and
awesome.
I would listen to that in my Walkman.
Walking that's awesome.
To and from school. Downward Spiral was huge. I knew that album before. Like, that came from Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah.
I still don't know that album as well as Downward Spiral.
Yeah.
That was
always
in rotation.
Which album, Sin? Do you remember the song Sin? It comes down to this. I know that's a fucking old one too. Is that Hate Machine? Pretty Hate Machine?
That might be Pretty Hate Machine.
Because that one,
I think it is.
I know Head Like a Hole is as old as we are. Like, I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's like 33 or 40, 34 years old.
It's early 90s.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close.
I keep obsessively going to iTunes, or not iTunes, Apple Music now, looking to see if Reznor has come out with some new music. The last thing he came out with, I think it was like a year or two ago, was 2 albums that were just instrumentals. Which they were cool, but I'm like, I'm waiting for that grunge stuff to come back out. He hasn't released something in a while.
Yeah, and I remember listening to something he had put out not too awful long ago, maybe 2 or 3 years, and I wasn't
one with it.
Yeah, I listened to a couple songs and I was like, this is not what I'm looking for from.
I like Angry Trent. Feels like a lot of the stuff he's come out with is like not an angry Eminem. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like he's gotten Adam Sandler.
Oh, Kamikaze made me so happy. Made me so happy.
That was dope. It was like Eminem breaking the door back down.
So happy. Yes.
So as far as doing like a tour, have you guys discussed tour? Have you been on tour? And if you,
I've not. And I honestly, I don't. If we did anything like that, it would have to be pretty short.
Yeah.
Stints.
Well, because A, you are a daddy, and B, you're almost a daddy times two.
Double daddy. Yeah.
Man, he's double daddy.
And I was thinking about this not too long ago. You know, music has always been the thing that I would like to do for a career.
Yeah.
And I went ahead and took the college path to have a primary. Music was always there. It was always the primary hobby.
Yeah.
You know, it always took precedence over everything. It still does.
Yeah.
As far as additional stuff, because I like to dabble in a lot of different things like you do.
Yeah.
But now I think about it as, thinking about it is, you get that question of, if you could have any job in the world, what would it be?
Mm-hmm.
Be a musician. But then that comes with touring. That comes with being away from home. That comes with...
Where do you get the money from?
Now that's different. Yeah. That too. Money, benefits, health insurance, all that.
Yeah.
So it changes your perspective of that. Because then you're like, well, touring wouldn't really be an option.
Yeah.
In all reality, unless we really were somehow able to skip steps, which nowadays, there's this like mid-level band limbo.
Yeah.
Where these bands that a lot of them you think are making pretty good money and are doing well, they're really they're making basic.
Yeah, making probably like Dollar General wages at the end of the year.
Yeah, they're really not enough to be able to. I mean, it could be enough, but
yeah.
It just depends on the situation.
Well,
some of them are better, some are worse.
The cool thing about what's happened with artists don't have to depend as much on labels anymore, because there's this independent releasing. Your music is on fucking iTunes or Apple Music.
Yeah.
On Spotify, on YouTube. It's like you guys literally can go record your stuff on a weekend and boom, it's to the world.
Right.
The only thing you have to depend on is doing the shows, getting the word out, and promoting, right? I mean, like, what, 10, 15 years ago, you had to find a band, or a label, right?
Yeah.
You had to find, there's almost like this challenge to where you can have the dad life and simultaneously still do what you want to do as a musician and still take the time to cultivate that hobby too.
Yeah.
Which I think is dope. Also, shout out Four Hands, Chocolate Milk Stout, and Seeger over here.
Yeah. Vanilla Stout, Big Muddy, Murfreesboro, drinking local.
They good.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting what we're seeing with the world. And even authors and book writers can just release their stuff on the cuff, and you never know what song could just pop off at any time. I know a lot of artists throw their music on TikTok. Do you guys do anything with TikTok yet, as far as pushing your music?
Just thinking of Lynch.
Wait, what?
Do you know about the TikTok?
He said. He did say that.
That was so funny. I love you, man. I love you. That was good. I don't do anything with TikTok.
What?
So I would have probably asked
TikTok.
I would have probably asked the question the same way. Yeah, I don't. I know that's like the new thing for music promotion and stuff, but
what started off for me, I know me and Lynch were talking about how for a year I was like, that's childish. Like that's just like kid shit. And then I
think it evolved though.
I
think when it started, it was a lot of garbage when it started.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is the last thing I need is another.
I think it started off like as a fucking bowl of soup, and it became a fucking witch's brew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's like
people
everything
learn how to
in
use
that
it
shit. Yes.
To their advantage. Yeah. Which is cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we might eventually do that, but the four of us knowing our personalities.
Yeah.
I don't see TikTok. I mean, it's possible. You never know. But we're all kind of old school with some of the stuff. We try to.
Well, there's some investment into it. And if you have a full-time job and you're almost a ×2 double daddy, I mean, the time to really check out a new app and really fuck with it's probably not there.
Yeah, if we ever had a chance to have a steady manager or something that could manage that, and then we could help.
Yeah,
that'd be one thing. But yeah, we
one
all have
day
full-time
they might
jobs.
Be looking for one.
Yeah.
Let them know.
Yeah, as of right now, we all have full-time jobs and stay busy, and it'd be tough to do. And I'm the type of person that I'm always teetering on deactivating the Facebook at any given time.
I feel you.
I have to take breaks from it.
Yeah.
I always tell people if it wasn't for.
Is it like the addiction about how much time it takes, or it's just like one of those things where like, why am I on it?
No, it's more of just the things you see on Facebook and the ebb and flow of humanity as a whole. There's certain points where I'm like, I need to clock out.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of negative that doesn't directly influence me, and I can't directly influence it, but can very easily start to affect my
Your
mindset.
psyche. Yeah.
So
for
I'm
sure.
like, there's times where I deactivate for a few weeks just to get a break from it.
I had to unfollow a lot of people because of that.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of people that use it really just for like anger, negativity, and stuff. So I really more so just follow local artists, musicians, Dustin, you, Hayes, really just people of like minds and stuff. But even weirder about Facebook, I've realized like people you don't even follow, you still see their stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense because you'll be like, why am I looking at your college fucking pictures right now?
I feel like randomly it'll pop up someone you've not seen or heard of in years.
Yeah.
Just to say, do you want to see this?
Are you curious about their life?
I don't know if I am.
No, I'm not.
I don't know if I am.
Double daddy and musician, he's probably not
Yeah.
concerned about that.
Sometimes it's cool, but then sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay,
Uh-huh.
just unfollow.
So
See
you
what I
guys,
can figure
your
out.
band, you have a YouTube as well, right?
We do.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the YouTube is started.
YouTube is there. We try to post some stuff on that. We just did a lyric video for one of the songs off the new EP.
I
And
haven't looked at that yet. Okay.
Eventually, we want to do a practice pad
Yeah.
video and just pack our practice space at Jeremy's.
Yeah.
Shoot a video, a bunch of fisheye
Take
lenses,
some fucking
and just
time and just. Have you heard of Tom McDonald?
yes, I've watched one or two of his videos, but he's not someone I follow necessarily.
He's some just wrestler dude that just randomly got into rap, and as an
Was
artist,
he a wrestler?
Yeah, he was. He
Oh,
was
I didn't know that.
huge wrestler, not like
That makes more sense to me.
WWE or anything.
Sure.
But he was like dive wrestler or like underground wrestler. But then he got into music, made this girlfriend, and they just like shoot their own music videos. The way I kind of did this with my fucking just a wall.
Yeah.
They will make a whole music video, tear everything down, and just put up new concepts and make an entire room a whole different place, and they shoot the entire video. And you watch it and you're like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so you could only saying you guys can definitely do that.
Yeah.
A couple creative minds in the same fucking room can come up with some awesome content.
yeah.
1 sec, I'm gonna get another brewski, y'all.
Okay.
BRB. You just get to look at this Stully man for a second.
I feel like I should know magic tricks. I don't know magic tricks.
I haven't really come up with
I
a way
don't.
to prepare people. Hey, just ready for
Mhm.
the camera.
That's why I have one on deck. I planned ahead. He's got to plan ahead.
Preparedness.
Yeah. That's what we do.
But yeah, eventually I plan on having. It's a fucking
Get
small
in
apartment,
there.
man. It's just like I really had to make this shit work. But I eventually plan on, so right behind Seeger over there, there's basically some empty space. I want to build some bleachers back there. D. Lee Lynch is
D.
D. Lee.
Dealy.
Delete it. D. Lee, he's coming up with like a light blueprint, I believe, a rough draft, and we're gonna build it back there and almost turn this into like a show idea. So maybe we can have like full bands over. And then Seeger came up with the idea to actually run another microphone back there, which I think would be really freaking cool.
Yeah.
But as far as what you guys got planned going on, have you only done like local shows? Or are you planning on doing anything further away? What's the furthest you guys have gone out so far?
We've not done a whole lot super far. The only thing we played in Effingham a couple times. There's a killer brewery up there called Effing Brew, and our buddy Kyle Bissell, which helps to do some of our marketing and whatnot. And he runs the Drift Loud Records page that we sell our merch through. He handles all that, so he's a huge help. Yeah. But he runs shows at Effing Brew. So we've done 2 or 3 up there, and it's always a good time. Yeah. Pretty tight space, but it's worth it because it's always a blast. But we played one show in St. Louis, and it was it wasn't like a mid-level headline or anything. It was it was at Red Flag, the new food bar or whatever, and it wasn't very fun because it was still in the heat of COVID. It was right when things were starting to open back up, but cities were still super tight.
So there probably wasn't a big crowd or anything, and it was probably weird juju anyway.
Man, we got there to load in.
You guys wear masks on stage?
We're not on stage. We got to take them off on stage. But you got there, you had to have your mask on. You'd go up, you had to sign a waiver and load in, wear your mask the whole time. Unless you were on stage or getting a drink, you had to have your mask on. And no one could stand up front. Everyone had to sit at their high top tables. So it was like It was like playing some weird showcase.
It's like diner music, like that.
It was awkward.
That's awkward, yeah.
And then our sound check was like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And everything sounded like it was coming through a metal zone and a coffee can.
Yeah.
It was
just poppy.
Man, and it's a cool setup.
Yeah.
Like the aesthetic is they have like some old train cars that they built booths into at the back of the bar.
Yeah.
So like there's 2 bars on the other side where you get your drinks, and they're in train cars, and then it looks awesome.
Yeah.
But man, it was not.
They got to work on it.
It was not enjoyable.
They got some things to do.
They need to work on it. And the stage was cool. The stage was good size. Could have been great. I don't know. It's probably way better by now. And I think they had only been open maybe a year or so at that point. So I'm sure it was probably a rough transition, but it was just weird, man.
So as far as music, this last album, what is this last album called? The name of
Villain.
Villain?
Yeah.
Villain. Is it a concept album, or did you guys go kind of song by song?
That you'll probably get a different answer depending on who you ask. Okay,
that makes sense.
So I think very conceptually when I'm piecing things together, but I'm not the main lyricist for this band.
Yeah.
So as we're developing, I think we all had the idea that we wanted it to be a little heavier.
Yeah.
So we kind of leaned that direction. It was one of those things where the songs were naturally kind of meshing in a way, and in my head I'm thinking, how do these connect
to them?
Yeah. So I ended up I made an intro for when we played at the Granada. I made an intro for that, and it was very much getting into like Carl Jung, shadow work, and all those types of theories and stuff. It was right in that vein of like not quite anti-hero, but definitely dealing with the dark sides of humanity and this and that. And every song on the EP was touching on some aspects of that.
Okay, cool.
And Bullock will tell you straight up, he's like, I don't think that much about it. I just write,
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't.
See, as a writer, I obsess over what I'm writing about and how it applies to things and stuff like that. So when did you guys release this album? When did it come out?
It came out May 14th. I think it was the day of, we did an EP release show at the Granada in Mount Vernon. And I think we released it that day or like the midnight the night before.
Yeah, so she's pretty recent for y'all.
Pretty recent, yeah. Okay. Pretty fresh. And it's the first project with the current lineup on recordings together. So everything before that was the previous lineup, which is all still amazing material.
Yeah.
And all super fun to play. It's a different vibe when you hear how everyone's influences affect the new rendition of the project. So it's cool. It's cool to hear. And compare and contrast and just different chemistry sets.
Yeah, you know exactly. I mean, you're a mad scientist with your music or your guitar in hand, I guess.
Yeah.
So as far as do you know many other artists in the area that you guys kind of do shows with, or is it kind of just whoever shows up at shows is kind of just people work together?
Well, as long as the band stay together.
Yeah, that's a
Mudhouse,
especially around here, man.
The EP release show, we had Abaddon open. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
no, not yet.
Abaddon is a band to check out. They are metalcore, deathcore. I suck with metal genres, but that's what I would think.
Well, the metal genre it's a hot space that's always morphing into different things. There's a lot of different,
like 200 different subsets, and I'm like, I can't keep up.
Yeah,
I can't keep up with all this. I can't. But they're awesome. They're great musicians. They're killer dudes. And Clarence, the singer, one of the singers from that band, we actually had do guest vocals on one of the tracks on the EP on Kong. It just made sense, So we had them open. So they're a good one. Syraxis is another one. As far as like recent, Gray's Divide, and kind of like we were talking before we started, there's a whole nother area, Mount Vernon up into central Illinois, that I was thankful enough to tap into 7-8 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Southern Illinois was just, you have some little spots and little areas where bands are popping off.
It's not as consistent as it was when we were younger. I think social media has a lot to do with that. This is just my own theory, but I think people had more time when we were younger, and now with these apps and things in our hand, I mean, I got 7 games downloaded on my phone right there. So there's just always a portable computer with games on me.
Yeah.
Say there's a band that would at least make your fucking like millennium if you guys got to play with. What is a band you personally, not you as a collective band, what is a band you would love to see yourself play with one day, from just a small time band to someone that you look up to?
That's a big list.
Yeah.
That's a big list.
Or name a few.
The first band that comes to mind would probably be Deftones.
Oh, Gino.
Deftones would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
As far as we did a live stream a couple weeks ago, and somebody asked us, what would be a band that you guys feel like you'd be most suited to open for? And we all kind of agreed on Black Label Society.
Yeah.
Because it's like that happy medium, God, there'd be so many. Could be any. I'll tell you, the last decade, they may be out a little longer than that, but Nothing More has been, as far as I'm concerned, they're the best hard rock band to come out in the past 10 years or so.
I haven't heard
Nothing
much.
More would be sweet.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with those guys, and I've not checked out the new album a whole lot yet. I think it's out. They've released at least a single. They have really impressed me. I'd have to, I'm going brain dead because you're asking me.
Oh no, you're fine. That's one of those things when someone asks you a question, you're like, 10 minutes ago I would have this vault of information, but the second it's asked,
I'd have to be like, all right, let's look through my playlist here and see.
Me and Lynch, we were talking about the music scene whenever we were teenagers and how many venues we had to just go and, even if you weren't playing in a show or something, you could just go to someone's show and there would just be bands you either knew or bands you're learning of for the first time. They just like hits in Teen Town and stuff like that. And I know those places.
Hampton and Christopher.
Where is it?
The Hampton Building in Christopher.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Christopher.
Me and Hayes used to run shows there all the time. Little spots like that really don't exist.
You only find people in bar bands now, or not bar bands, bar venues.
Yes.
The only real place to find music nowadays, I think, that's what I was talking about with the last podcast. Was like I feel like this area needs cultivation for the younger crowd because I think there's some people our age we could find new music because we literally just have to go to I can check your Facebook page and just go find out what bar you guys are going to or what venue you're going to, make a drive, and boom, I'm there.
Right.
As far as like the younger generation around here locally, at the very least, it's just like, how do they find any local music? It's just like I think that was what was important for our generation, was going and seeing local bands and getting influences and be like, that's a sound, I love what they sound like, I could see myself playing something like that. But I think like this next generation, they're at least locally in Southern Illinois, there's not much. Where do they go? Do you remember Calico System at all?
Oh, absolutely.
They were a huge dude. They live, yeah. I remember.
You said "Giddy Up Gangsta" on the Lynch episode, and it blew my mind because I was like, "Holy hell!" I forgot all about them.
Yeah.
There was another band, and I can't remember the name. Something Falcon. There was some bird involved. Eagle, Falcon, something. Lynch is probably like, "It's this."
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's the same band. It could be a different band, but there was a band that had just a massive kick drum.
Yeah.
And either it was that band or it was a different band. But they also had killer instrumentation. Like they're all phenomenal at their instruments. And I remember the bassist had a 6-string. And in those days,
that's a
you
flex.
saw that and you're like,
what are you doing with that?
You just messed up my whole world. I need to
you
go
play
home
that?
and go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my
I
life.
gotta take a nap with what you just.
Yeah, insane.
There was a band called. Wasn't they called Dim Hot Tamales? Wasn't that a band or something back in the day? Oh, I don't even...
Couldn't tell you who was in it.
Yeah, because I remember... I think they played a talent show or something. They played a couple different shows.
There was a bunch of
little bands I remember playing them and being
that.
like, these guys are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a bunch of little bands like that popped up, but maybe didn't really last long.
Yeah.
So
then I remember there was
at that age,
War Between Four Walls. That was one too, right?
Matt was in that for a
little
bit.
that was a fun one. Who were some other local bands? Me and Lynch talked about In Fear and Faith. I really liked those guys.
Yes.
I think they kind of just grew up and just had the adult dad life now.
Well,
I met the singer of Calico System. I worked with him at Best Buy in
Really?
Fairview Heights randomly. And Mark something, I can't remember. And he was just hanging out. I think he worked the side of Best Buy where he was just loading the stuff in the back.
I know the brothers from In Fear and Faith moved to St. Louis. I know one of them does graphic design and stuff. He helps manage Abaddon.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, that's dope.
I don't remember what the other brother does though. But yeah, we met. He was at one of the Mount Vernon shows, and we just started touching base on old bands and stuff, and we were both like messing with each other's heads because we were like naming old bands.
Yeah.
And we're both like, oh,
the nostalgia bubble. We're old.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot of those, but I think you're right about we had MySpace, but not all of us had computers, so it was like we had more time to sit and mess with instruments and go see bands, and every generation's different, so I don't want to be that guy that's like, back in my day it was way better. I'm sure there's benefits of what kids are doing now, but
well, there's probably folks back in the day who were like, put that damn newspaper down. Back in my day we carved on actual trees.
But it's also easier to learn stuff now. You don't have to go to the library and print tabs and take them home and hope they're right. That was something that I feel like we didn't figure out until a couple years in. We're like, this isn't even close.
Yeah, that sounds right, but it's the wrong string.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Or we just didn't know how to tune yet.
Yeah, tuning took me a long time.
Yeah.
I'm still fucking rusty because I'm only just the past couple years only getting back into guitar to begin with.
Yeah.
As far as venue places, all I can think of is just bars that you have to really play at. I know this is just my idea because I'm one of those people. I really feel like the creative really depends on the next generation. We need more people locally to open their doors to concerts, venues. For anyone that sees this, just spread the word. I think there needs to be more places for people to play because as far as bands, you could book Hanger and it's really who you know to begin with.
Yeah, same with Copper.
Yeah. But I think there needs to be a couple more smaller venues where you just are like, open the door, play a show, and have some people hang out and do what they do. Well, when's your guys' next show? Do you have one already lined up?
Not really. Since Baby's on the way, we're really just writing.
That's
for
right.
The
That's soon. That's
writing
soon.
for the next project. We did a Black Wednesday thing last year.
Yeah.
Like day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We had a show at Granada, which ended up being a blast.
Really?
It was a hit, man. There was
Sweet.
a bunch of people there who knew the day before Thanksgiving. People were like, "Yeah, let's go."
Oh, that's awesome.
So we'll probably do that again this year. I'd love to make it a yearly thing.
Yeah, just a
and just
reunion.
have different bands and different combinations of people. So we're doing that. We might book a Halloween show.
If someone is trying to book you, where would they go to?
Best bet's probably just hit us up on Facebook. Just shoot us a message, leave a comment.
That's Cause of Ruin if you want to check them up on Facebook. Here in a minute, we will play some of their music, and hopefully it won't melt your ears because it's going to be going through the microphone. I'll start it quiet.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at the podcasting
Ease it
and
in.
making this stuff work better. Have you guys talked about ever collaborating with a local band or having like a guest vocal or guitarist on or something?
Well, we did that with Clarence
Yeah.
from Abaddon, and we're all pretty open to any of that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that won't be the last one to happen.
Yeah.
And what's funny, I was saying that Sky Dweller, my last band,
Yeah.
Caleb and I's last band, we used to play shows with Cause of Ruin all the time. Well, Cause of Ruin had a song where they had me come in and do guest vocals on.
Yeah.
And then later on, I ended up being in the
That
band.
is funny.
End up being in the
That is
band
fun.
anyway.
Must have worked.
So,
Must have been nice.
yeah, it kind of works out. So then, and luckily the guitar is such that I can still do those vocals and play the parts.
I was just thinking about that earlier, about how difficult that actually is if you think about like
Yeah.
how a musician's brain must be so different than most people, because like if you think about the technicality of just riffing and playing a song, that's crazy. Like it's nuts. Chords I think are like more easy because you could just strum.
Yeah.
But even that's pretty fucking difficult depending on like the time you're playing and what you're saying and how you're saying it.
You can groove with chords, but if you're trying to, once you start getting into slightly more intricate
Picking
riffs,
and stuff, it's just like, dude,
you got to land those vocals right.
Yeah.
And my position in Cause of Ruin is my preferred spot.
Yeah.
Playing guitar, doing backup vocals on
Yeah.
occasion.
Yeah.
Focusing on guitar.
Yeah.
Like that's where I'd rather be.
Yeah.
So it's been super fun
your comfort
to
area.
do that. Yes.
Yeah, that's nice.
Because then I can hop in, do harmonies and do stuff, and then hop out, focus on guitar, do my thing.
Yeah.
So then I can write guitar parts without having to worry about the other half of that.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about, okay, how am I going to sing over this? Should the other guitarist play this and I play something else? I don't have to worry about that. So I can do kind of more weird, crazy stuff and experiment.
Roles are good in a band, I think, because I mean, and then every once in a while, if you feel like you could bring up like, hey, let me do a lead thing here if you want to fuck around. But I think there's definitely a good structure for bands to have. Are there local bands that you yourself like listen to every once in a while?
I keep saying Abaddon, but they deserve the praise. They just
Yeah.
released a new single, The Haunted Awakening, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
And I've been listening to it a lot.
What kind
it's
of
just-
what's their genre if they had one? Is it heavier?
it is heavier, deathcore, airy.
Yeah.
They may correct me on that, which is fine, but it's somewhere more in that vein. I think of bands like Acacia Strain, The Artist Murder, more
man,
of that,
yeah.
maybe a little more thrashy.
Yeah, sure.
Because Chris and Matt are both good at writing like fast, heavy riffs
Yeah.
too. But they just released a new single which they recorded with Jack Daniels and Cape. I don't know if you know him.
Nope.
But he's a phenomenal producer. He plays in War of Ages. He was in another old band, Hope for the Dying. And then what was it before that? Convicted. Which I still have that demo somewhere.
It's weird to even think about how many bands actually in this area existed, from here to Paducah to St. Louis to Centralia, and there's a lot of
we're
creativity down here. Yeah, like off the top of my head, I really can't think of any bands that were just terrible. Like I'm sure someone could like grab the mic and be like, no, I got one.
I'm sure I can.
There,
I won't do that.
He won't. He's a nice guy, but.
I won't do that. Too old for that. Yeah, but there was so many really good bands that could very easily just hear on the radio.
Yeah. This right here, Cause of Ruin Villain, this is the album itself.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to snag one, would they just communicate with your Facebook page? Are you selling them?
The easiest way to do that, if you go to driftloudrecords.com.
Drift Loud?
driftloudrecords.com.
Okay.
You can buy all kinds of merch. You can buy the demos, you can buy shirts, you can buy,
Yeah.
I think he's got like some pants and tank tops and shorts, and
Uh-huh.
it's cool because he runs everything through a company that just makes it, as people purchase it, it gets shipped out. So
That's awesome. So it's like custom made,
convenient.
just comes out when it's needed.
Yeah, it's cool. So that's the easiest way to get stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously potentially at a show once we get back into that.
So I'm going to load up YouTube.
Hate Machine is on there. I don't know if the other three are on there yet.
Let me see if my Apple
We need to
Music
just
will
put up
load.
the audio at least for now.
Y'all, sorry, this is going to take approximately 30 seconds to a minute.
That's a long time, man.
Today, it is. Back in the day, be like, we're good. We're on dial-up internet, boy.
We'll be back in 3 hours. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like everything's just seconds,
quick.
man. That the second you go into a DMV and you have to start waiting, you're like, oh, this is my attention span sinking.
Yeah. I'm too used to convenience. How dare you test my patience?
I know, it's nuts. I almost missed the Blockbuster days, man, because it's like there was something more simple about just working or going to school all week and then just knowing one day on the end of the week you're just gonna go get a movie or a game and just rent it, you know.
And being able to rent a game and not have to wait half a day for the damn thing to download. To
Oh
the
my
console.
god, yeah. Well, there's
I get so mad.
well, there's a lot of stuff complicated about the gaming industry nowadays because there's a lot of issues with that, with them just trying to monetize every game to the most. This game
and the
I
500
played,
special editions of each game. And
oh my god, I know Skyrim got like 10 re-releases, and this game I play called Diablo, there's a game called Diablo Immortal, and someone did the math. For you to fully upgrade your character in this game, it would literally cost you about $100,000. That's like a single game. Like
That's
back in the
insane,
day,
man.
whenever you would just buy a game, this is the game. Mm-hmm. And then one day they might release downloadable content. You'd buy like a $20.
I'm gonna go buy the Game Shark.
Yeah, dude, you remember the Game Shark? That's fucking awesome.
Go get the Game Shark. I'll have all the codes.
I used Game Shark on fucking, what was it, Vice City? I think.
Yeah. Remember the one for N64 was literally just the
It was a
extra
cartridge.
and
Yeah,
then you put that on top.
the game on the cartridge on a cartridge.
It's great.
Cartridge and a pair
Just more you had to clean when it didn't work.
Yeah, and it would maybe work for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then dust would get in there, and you're like getting a Q-tip, and you're like, is
Yep.
this? And then the little
rubbing
cotton
alcohol.
would come off the Q-tip into the game, and then you're like, is that gonna help or destroy it?
Yeah.
Okay, so 10-year-old
Kids today,
computer.
you don't know.
You don't fucking
You don't know.
understand.
You don't know the struggle.
Struggle bus.
We
was
did
real.
a lot of things.
LimeWire. Okay.
LimeWire. What was before that?
Napster?
Winamex.
I'm on another one.
Winamex.
I don't know that one.
I'm pretty sure that was the name.
All
of it.
I remember, the first torrent website I remember going to Craig Dillard's house and playing Fable on the Xbox, and he would be on there just like downloading the Rasmus.
AIDS.
On AIDS. Rasmus, their new single, The AIDS.
AIDS. Just downloading AIDS on your computer. That's all it was.
That's funny because that's normally my joke.
And it would take so long to download.
Days.
It would take so long, and now it's nothing. And it's actually it's 500 times the quality it was back then.
Yeah, I just I saw on my phone you can get like this lossless audio.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
On
I'm
Apple
gonna be honest,
Music.
I don't know what the fuck that is. Is that
cool.
just like?
I'm assuming it's the full WAV file instead of being the MP3.
It's provocative. Nobody knows what it means.
Yeah, it's provocative. Yeah, I don't know if it's the full wave, but they're definitely getting above the what's the standard MP3 320, 360, 320.
Something in there.
So yeah, I'm curious.
300s.
But that's cool, and I think that's a direct response to people kind of getting sick of compressed music.
Well, yeah, and plus,
part of the reason why vinyl came back.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because vinyl is like a higher quality even than MP3, wasn't it? I mean, it's a better sounding, clearer.
You have kind of some weird EQ things that happen there.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, especially when we used to download stuff off LimeWire, the quality we'd get be garbage.
Oh, terrible.
And I think that led to people going
Half
back
of it,
to,
it would be
to
like
vinyl.
1,500 kilobytes, and you'd be like, this
Oh,
sounds like
God.
it was recorded inside of a fucking garbage can in a garage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all right.
Everything's just a wash of sound, and you get a little vocal that peeks through. That's about it.
Okay.
So that if you
Uh-huh.
you're on Apple Music, cool.
Yeah.
So you can see the 4 tracks off the. Actually, if you scroll down to albums,
Yeah.
you can see the new EP.
Oh,
third
baby?
from the left.
Villain it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me click on this bad boy. Again, apologies, y'all. This is a 10-year-old computer, and I am broke because of gas. So Daddy's going to get a new computer one day where this 2-minute problem would have been done in 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Really makes me wish I still had a motorcycle. I had a cheaper bike a few years back, and I wish I still had
talking about
it.
scooters and motorcycles and fucking bicycles.
I would take a scooter.
If I lived in a big city, I'd bicycle the fuck out of some shit and just put a boom box on the back of my bicycle and just
blast
Blair
LL Cool J
Antwoord or
as
something.
you're going down the road. Yeah.
All right. So is Nail in the Coffin? Is that the fucking the juicy one?
Nail in the Coffin's a little more laid back.
Okay.
It's a little more like
What songs got
mellow Pantera, Southern Trendkill kind of vibes.
What's y'all's song? You're like, yeah, that's us.
Maybe just do Hate Machine. That's
Machine.
that's kind of a happy medium with everything.
Okay. Let me make sure I'm not gonna bleed us from the ears real quick.
Which was probably the first one that we all finished together, I think.
Yeah.
As a new song.
How long did it take for you guys to record all this? Was it like just an afternoon session? You're like, boom, knocked them out?
No. It was like 40 plus hours.
Damn.
And Nail in the Coffin especially, there's a lot of layering.
Yeah.
And it took time. There's layering with the guitars, there's layering with the vocals, because we do a bunch of harmonies on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
It's a nasty song. I heard this yesterday, so I hope the microphone at least catches it. That's nasty.
And we're all about groove.
Uh-huh.
This whole thing is just...
You had a little Deftones in there. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little Rocket Skates, I'd
See
say.
that? Mm-hmm.
Ooh, he's got those highs. Okay.
Yeah. Which is... What's cool is... Bullock, which is the vocalist in this, us writing this new stuff,
Yeah.
and watching him like change the way he did things in
Yeah.
response to.
As a vocalist?
Yeah, we all just kind of shifted and advanced as we all played together,
Yeah.
and his vocals on this EP, it's the best I've ever heard him. You know, he pushed it, man. It's awesome.
This shit's punchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these guys, they're on Apple Music. You got the same music on Spotify?
Should.
Whole EP as
Should.
well?
I hope.
You're like, yes,
I'm pretty
please.
sure.
I'm Ron Burgundy. Hell yeah. Well, I won't make this last too long, because I know you were a daddy as well. But is there anything you want to plug on here before we drop the stream?
Just check out the new EP. It was quite fun to write.
And the website was again?
The Drift Loud.
To buy the EP itself.
driftloudrecords.com,
Gotcha.
and then you can find a bunch. There's a bunch of other local bands on there too. That's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little more distant. I don't think they're all Illinois. I think he's
Yeah.
kind of helping a lot of different bands. But there's a lot of good bands on there, so I would check that out. But you can buy the EP. You can buy all kinds of different merch and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then just keep up with us on Facebook. Obviously, I'm about to have the next baby, but then.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Once the
Daddy
dust
dose.
settles from that, then we'll try to get back out and do some stuff and
Book these guys.
play some more shows.
Yeah. And
Definitely more local stuff.
thanks again for coming on. I ain't kicking you out. We'll talk for a minute after we drop
right.
this. But guys, Into the Chasm here. If you know any local artists from Paducah to Cape Girardeau to Missouri, Southern Illinois, especially if you know musicians, artists, painters, fucking ghost hunters and paranormal investigators, if they got some creative talent, you plug them my direction. Lucian Black here on Facebook and Into the Chasm on YouTube. Thanks for coming and thanks for hanging out. And hey, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah.
And check out Cause of Ruin, y'all. They're on. Find them anywhere.